exclusive interviews on Ghnewsnow. As you're aware, the political season in Ghana is already heating up, although it's a year and some months away for election 2020. And today we have a very key political figure in Ghana's political space, and he is Elvis Afriyie Ankrah, a former sports minister, and now he's leading the opposition NDC as their director of elections. Today we'll be looking at a number of issues, the NDC's chances, and also issues of national interest that are up for discussion. Honorable, welcome to today's edition of the show.
Thank you very much.
You are the director of elections for the NDC. It is certainly a huge task, especially in opposition. I'm not asking you to reveal all your arsenals and strategies for the polls, but what is your general approach as the NDC towards this particular election in 2020?
Thanks once again and welcome to my home. I believe that in 2016 we made some mistakes in our approach to the campaign. I always use this analogy. We left our door open and somebody came in and stole our television sets. And so this time around, we are not going to leave our door closed. We're going to lock it with padlock, put burglar proof, put special locks, Alsatian dogs, Dobermans, Bible, Quran, Torah, cross, and ensure that what happened in 2016 will not happen again.
Well, that's certainly not a way of giving up so much about the approach. But the analogy of leaving your door open is quite broad. It's proverbial. What does that exactly mean? I mean, what did you leave open? Isn't that you think you were not vigilant enough?
Yes. You know, as we speak now, the polling station by polling station results of the presidential elections has not been gazetted. We've asked for that consistently, and the EC has promised that they are going to gazette those results. And we believe that a lot of funny things went on. That is why you had that huge gap. But we take responsibility for it because we were the incumbent government and we had a responsibility to ensure that we protect the ballot. So we're putting in place a lot of measures and mechanisms. We just finished a retreat for the Elections Directorate in Tamale. And His Excellency, the former president, incoming president John Mahama was there together with our national chairman. We had very, very good resource persons, and they shared knowledge and experience with us, all in a bid to prepare ourselves. And very soon we'll be going around the regions to begin the process of training our party people, our election directorate, and also begin the process of recruiting our polling agents, as well as looking at our IT compliance systems. So,
but the NDC, for many reasons, have outstanding issues with the Electoral Commission, especially its chairperson, Jane Mensa. Now, as you go into these polls, and also I know that has to do a lot with how Charlotte Osei was removed as the former chair of the EC, and how the NDC feels that the removal was political, which then also means that the new appointment is political. There is also the disputable perception that in Ghana, people don't just win elections merely based on what goes into the ballot box. Is the NDC in any way going to trust the EC in the 2020 election, or you will be banking your hopes on something else?
The issue about Jane Mensa, yes, we were not happy with the way and manner and the circumstances under which Madame Charlotte Osei was removed. We believe that she was given a raw deal. Be that as it may, Madame Jane Mensa has been appointed. It is what it is. She's the electoral commissioner now the chairperson of the EC. And so one would have expected that, considering the background, under which she was put into office, she would have been a little more circumspect, in the way she was going about the things. But I must say that the first few months were not things that happened were not things that we're happy with. And I can cite countless examples. So, for example, the first meeting, or was it the second meeting or so, of the commission, where they were going to take very critical decisions about procuring new equipment for the EC. We were given 47 minutes notice. Meanwhile, all other stakeholders were given sufficient notice. We raised issues about it. They apologized. We said, okay, since we are major stakeholders, can you then nullify the decision of that meeting and allow us to make our input? That did not happen. that we can say we can overlook that. Then the second thing that happened was went for a meeting. At that meeting, on the agenda, we had 4 items: inspection of political party officers, audit reports, district level elections, and any other business. So we had a very good meeting, 3 hours. In the course of the deliberations on the district level elections, then somebody asked a question that why are we not using a particular equipment in a particular way? And in her answer, she said, oh, we're going to do a new register. They are contemplating doing a new register. That was the only mention of register, and that the old equipment had become obsolete. We came home only to realize in the evening that they had issued a press statement saying that after, and the preamble to that press statement was, after extensive deliberations, all the stakeholders had agreed on the following. And one of them was that we had agreed that there will be a new voters register, biometric voters register. It was not on the agenda. There were no extensive deliberations. It was just an offside comment that did not even take a minute. And so we thought that was in very bad faith, and we raised issues about it. So they themselves, by their conduct, created room for suspicion. Again, you recall my own friend Dr. Bosman Asari, where he made several unsavory comments about the NDC, at one point describing the NDC as a threat to Ghana's democracy, even went to the extent of saying that if the NDC continues to criticize the EC, then they were no longer going to supervise the internal elections of the NDC, something which the EC is bound by law to do. And so, under those circumstances, you also know about the why are you laughing tiff with our General Secretary. So I believe that it was the EC themselves that created that situation that called to question their own neutrality. Having said that, however, I must be fair. You can see that they are making some effort. They've started holding stakeholder consultations, something which they should have started right from when they took office. But we met them together with the former president, and they give us an assurance and a commitment. Any fair-minded, level-headed person, if somebody does something wrong and comes to you and say, look, let's close the chapter and open a new page, you must give that person the benefit of the doubt and give the person the opportunity to prove to all of us. And so, but as a political party, we have interest. So we'll continue to be alert. You cannot have a situation where we trust the EC eternally, so we will not be vigilant, or we do not trust the EC, so no matter what they do, we'll criticize. It won't be. We would monitor them at any given stage. And if they do right, we'll collaborate with them. If we think that they are doing wrong, that will affect the country and the interests of our party, we will speak against it.
All right. So there's also particularly one of the things that came to play, which many think was in favor of the MPP, was the vigilance. But then it was also, we are made to believe that they introduced a certain kind of technology system to monitor the elections, the results as they were coming in and whatnot. How serious is the NDC taking these issues, especially when it comes to technology and all that, in terms of monitoring and all that?
I think this whole issue about, technology is critical, is important. And as I said, we had a retreat recently. We worked very closely. We've actually established an IT directorate manned by a very competent person, a former U.S. naval officer. And the directorate is also manned by very experienced people. And so we are taking that seriously. But I would like to say that I think this whole issue about 2016 and some people came from somewhere, and I think it's a bit over-exaggerated, honestly. Because at the end of the day, even if you have the technology, it is people who would have to vote and people who man the technology. So, yes, technology is important, and we are putting in place all the adequate measures to ensure that our technological systems are up to date and relevant to the times. But we're also focusing a lot on the human resource capacity.
You are watching Ghnewsnow, and we are having a chat with Honorable Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. He's the Director of Elections for the opposition National Democratic Congress. Now, Honorable, back to you. Beyond all the other issues that come to play to favor the MPP or to give one victory, what exactly is the NDC banking its hopes on? Is it that you are banking your hope on the performance of this administration? are you not guided by the fact that we have had a trend where parties, or the two major parties, seem to get 2 terms in power, in office to serve? Are you not guided by this, or you think that, no, we are convinced that their performance is abysmal enough and Ghanaians will throw them off?
Okay, so as to the question of their performance, there's no doubt about it. It is abysmal and it is way below expectations, so that is a fact. And they've only done 2.5 years, and people are choking. People can't wait for the next elections. So that is a given. But beyond that, we also have a track record. So, for example, within our period, we borrowed so much, but we borrowed about 48 billion Ghana cedis. Now, there's a lot to show for it over the 4 years. You talk about hospitals, talk about major hospitals, the Legon Hospital that has been left standing there, the Maritime Hospital, Tamale Teaching Hospital, rehabilitation, talk about polyclinics all across the country. You talk about regional hospitals, Sewa Regional Hospital, a major facility that would have rivaled 37 military hospital, almost 70% done. It's just been left there. You talk about schools infrastructure. So we have a track record and we have something to show for the monies that we borrowed. Everybody knows infrastructure here, infrastructure there, infrastructure everywhere. Roads, talk about it, massive infrastructure. Look at the airports and all that. Now, MPP within this short period, they've borrowed over 80 billion. When you ask them what they have done with the 80 billion, they tell you free SHS. The free SHS per term is just a little under 1 billion. So for the past 3 years, that will be 3 billion. They talk about nurses' allowance. That also cumulatively will not even be up to 3 billion. Let me be charitable. Let's say even 3 billion. And what else? Planting for foods, another 1 or 2 billion. And then what else again? One district, one factory, which is a private sector initiative, as they some claim. So overall, the things that you can say they've done is not even up to 20 billion. So where is the rest of the 60 billion? What have they done with it? So these are questions that we have to ask them. Beyond that, when we were in power, we had I think 2 or 3 oil wells, and we were getting about 3 billion or so from our oil wells. We put in place mechanisms for other oil wells or other discoveries. The MPP did not do anything in terms of getting those oil wells running. They came and benefited from all the investments that we have done, the FPSOs and all that. As I speak to you today, they are earning 12 billion. 3-4 times more than what the NDC was earning. To whom much is given, much will be required. What have they got to show for it?
I'm not cutting, but in comparison, I think is it not fair to also look at the number of years? Because, like you said, they are 2.5, they are not over yet. And also, is it not the case that while infrastructure alone is not enough, there's also the point where I see a trend where the MPP moves more perhaps towards policies, like social intervention policy. So the free SHS is a policy, NAPCO is a policy. I mean, these things also take money. So is it not the case that, okay, you did more of fiscal infrastructure, one decides to do more of, let me invest in social intervention policies? Is that not a fair analysis to one?
So 2.5 years. So what is the cost? That's the question. We, over 4 years, borrowed 48 billion. You, over 2.5 years already, you've borrowed over 80 billion. And you are saying you are investing in policy. And your policies are costing more than infrastructure. Between infrastructure, physical, tangible projects that benefit entire communities, and the things that you claim you are doing, which cannot even be properly quantifiable. And I've given you examples. The free SHS, which is supposed to be their flagship project, the biggest of all, so far it's only 3 billion. And 2.5 years, they've borrowed 80 billion. By the 4th year, how much would they borrow? And they were the ones who were saying that any idiot can borrow. They said it. Ursula and all those people said her son, if it's about borrowing and building, any idiot can borrow. The president said it, Baumia said it. It's incompetence to borrow and build. So you came, you said somebody had been borrowing so much. You have borrowed more, double what we have borrowed. We have things to show for it. You have little or nothing to show for it. Your so-called policies, human interventions, when we quantify all, it doesn't come up to 1/3 of what you have borrowed. And wherever you go today, life is difficult, life is hard. Things are difficult for the average Ghanaian. And they said that they were coming to improve upon the living standards of Ghanaians. Take the ESLA, for example. We put in place a system where we were going to put money aside to service the energy sector loans and costs that were there. What has happened? They told us that the ESLA was not necessary. It wasn't good. When they came, they took that money and used it as a collateral to go and take a loan. So you, whichever way you look at, so we're going to compare our records, and by and large, you will see that we have a far more superior record. And then we're going to compare our experiences, the experience that we've had in governance, put it together, and then we're going to come with new policies, a new dimension that will move Ghana to the next level. I don't even want to begin to, you want us to go into corruption and the MPP?
We'll get on, Honorable. So how would you rate the current government? And then where would you say the government is reasonably doing well and where they would probably need to improve things? Is it that bad?
Conceptually, in terms of the concept, and I'm choosing my words carefully, the concept of a free SHS, I think that it's something that we started, but because we're realistic and we do due diligence, okay? What is the new term now? There are two terms now, the one you do before and the one you do after, vis-a-vis PDS, you know, we do due diligence. So they started the free SHS. We thought that it should be progressive because you do feasibility, you look at the economy, you look at the system, and when you're introducing something, you do it gradually. So you learn as you go along and you improve upon it. They decided that they were going to do it all at once, probably for political gain. And we are seeing the challenges. We saw the challenges that came about. It's been very, very chaotic. It's very difficult. You've seen the results of the examinations that they've written. It's been a disaster. And so they could have done it better. There was no policy paper. There was no strategic plan or strategic document backing that policy. So, yes, that's what I'm saying. Conceptually, I'll give them maybe, B for concept. But in terms of implementation, it's a D or E. That's the reality.
Honorable, and so I'm going to give you some areas on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the worst and 10 best. So you give me your rating of how you think the MPP has performed.
Okay.
You may back each grade with maybe one line assessment or something. So, international relations, what's your rating? 1 to 10 and a line assessment?
I'll give them 3.5. Because Ghana started as a democracy, you media people, a very free society. Today, we've fallen steeply when it comes to media freedoms. For the first time, a journalist has been murdered, and it's like life goes on. Your friends were arrested, they said, by hooded men in mass and carried away. Granted that the issue about whether they were tortured or not is under investigation, whatever it is. But the fact that journalists could be arrested by hooded marksmen and whisked to BNI cells and kept there is totally unacceptable in a democracy like this. We've seen Manasseh. I have been a victim of Manasseh's acerbic writings. He wrote all kinds of things against me. He wrote all kinds of things against President Mahama. When he was launching his book, we went and supported him because we felt he was doing his job, though we do not agree with what he's doing. Today, Manasseh has been hounded and hounded and hounded. He had to go into exile and come back, and his pressure has been put on multimedia, and he had to leave multimedia. This is happening in a country under Akufo-Addo, who is supposed to be the purveyor of freedom and liberties and all that. It's a sham. It's a sham. So international relations, I've forgotten about the Oslo Gate. Internationally, they were going to steal our money, and they were found out, and they quickly backed up. If indeed that Oslo property was a genuine deal, they said they had gone to do feasibility and all that. If they knew there was nothing, why didn't they go ahead? You were going to steal, and you were caught, and you stopped, and you said we should clap for you.
Where would you place them in agriculture?
Planting for food. And planting for food, again, the last time I saw some statistics, and they said that as part of our debt profile, apart from the CDs, the money that we owe, we've also taken some money from some grains. I don't know if you've seen it, So we were supposed to be planting for food and jobs, and we're supposed to be self-sufficient. They have been talking about it in some agri products. Not knowing we have been buying or borrowing grains from our neighboring countries. So did we go or did we come? The free fertilizer that we were given, the fertilizer is either being smuggled out of the country or a lot of it is left to rot. So I'll give them 4. Education, I'll give them 5 or 6 for conceptualism. In terms of actual implementation, I'll give them 4. Defense, recently they sent a bill to Parliament where they were going to buy night vision goggles for how much? $12,000 or so. And again, they were exposed in Parliament. And so I'll give them 4. Economy, 2.5.
That's not fair.
That is very, very fair. Because these are people who said the economy was in a mess, and when they come, cost of living was a major issue. The price of petroleum products was a major issue, that were increasing petroleum prices arbitrarily. And they promised that when they come, they were going to reduce the cost of petroleum. They were going to reduce taxes. You remember, taxation is a key factor in economic development and economic management. They said they were going to cut down taxes. They said those were their promises. Today, what do we see? They have rather increased taxes to the extent of luxury tax. Even tankers, cesspit tankers are also categorized as luxury vehicles, and they were collected until President John Mahama came out and said when he came, he was going to scrap it before they quickly came out and said, oh, they are scrapping those taxes.